Assalamualaikum and hi to Madam Hana. So, today our group are going to be presenting about the movie review of The Searching. So, these are my group.
Hi, I am Afrina Damia.
Hi, I am Amira Alicia.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Fabian.
Hi, I'm Pipida.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Akmalul Hakim.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Nur Iman.
Hello, I'm Muhammad Zarif.
Okay. So, let's move on to the introduction of the movie, which Mia will presenting.
The movie Searching struck the audience with mystery and gimmick, which was premiered at Sundance Film Festival in 21st January 2018. It was about a father looking for his 60-year-old missing daughter. The movie uses gadgets and technology such as laptop, cameras, smartphone, social media sites as a platform to tell an entrancing mystery story. The American thriller mystery drama movie was directed by Anesh Shangati, who also co-wrote it with Chef Ohanian. Then, the producer of the movie was Timur Bekmambetov, Chef Ohanian, Natalie Kasabian, and Adam Sitman. The cast for the film was John Cho, who played as David Kim, Deborah Messing as Detective Sergeant Rosemary Vick, Michelle La as Margaret Kim, Sarah Sean played as Pamela Kim, Joseph Lee as Peter Kim, Stephen Michelle H as Robert Vick, which is known as Rosemary Vick's son, and last but not least, Rick Sarabia as Randy Kratoff and Ed Kovic. Other than that, the production company was Bazalev Company, Screen Gems, and Stage 6 Film, and it was distributed by Sony Picture Releasing. The language of the film is English. The movie has a running time of 102 minutes, equivalent to 1 hour 46 minutes, and the MPAA rating is PG-13 for thematic content such as language, some drugs, and sexual references. Next, the production country is United States, as it was filmed at San Jose at the South Bay, California, USA. Stated by the actress Michelle La, the filming process were all shot in one house, with David Kim on the set of the house and Deborah Messing at the other. In the movie, all music was composed by Tom Borrowdale, and there was at least 20 of soundtracks such as Searching and Titles, New User, and many more. The film was shot by multiple devices such as GoPro, helicopter, drone, webcam, mini DV cameras, also director Anesh Changati iPhones that become the main camera. With a budget of $880,000, the film was financially and extremely successful in theatrical performance as it hits around $26 million in domestic and $50 million international, with a worldwide gross over $76 million. Furthermore, it also made around $200,000 in home market performances. Finally, according to Anesh, the movie was shot in 13 days. However, it took 18 months to edit it until it was ready to be national release.
Alright, thank you Damia for the brief explanation of the intro. So let's move on to the summary of the movie.
Okay, so for the summary, the movie starts when the 16 years old Margaret Kim, the daughter of David Kim, gone missing. So the father breaks through her laptop to look for any clues in order to find his daughter who went missing. So when Margaret has vanished, David contacts the police. So a local investigation is opened. After 37 hours later, without a single lead of Margaret, David decides to search the clues in his daughter's laptop, which no one else knows. Also, he recruited enlisted the help of a committed investigator, Rosemary Vick, and they ventured down in attempt to locate the missing Margaret. So one night before Margaret went missing, she told David that she went to have a study group at her friend's house. The next morning, David received a 2 missed call from Margaret that night when he was asleep. So David messages and called her for not taking the garbage. So after hours later, Margaret did not reply to any David message. So he assumed that she has already gone to the school. So after a while, he calls Margaret piano teacher, but is informed that Margaret had cancelled her lesson 6 months ago. So David have discovered that Margaret had pocketed the money of the lessons before unexpectedly adding $2,500 to the deleted Venmo account. David logged into Margaret's Facebook and tries to talk to her acquaintances, but realized that Margaret hasn't had any close friends. So David begins to search for any clues from her social media. After a long search of his daughter, David finally have some lead. So police went out for a search at a location founded by David with the help of community, but nowhere to be found. When David want to decide to give up, he knew that Detective Rosemary Vick was the mother of Robert Vick, who attempted to kill Margaret. After both of them were arrested, they told where Margaret actually is, and Margaret finally has been found, and she was in a very serious state. So after a few months, Margaret came recovered from the accident and lived happily ever after.
So thank you, Amira, for the summary of the movie. So let's hop on into the analysis of the movie plot.
Alright, thank you, Iman. So, the movie plot for this movie can be divided into 5 parts. So, the first one is the exposition for this movie. It started when David Kim and his daughter Margaret lived in San Jose, California. His wife Pamela was diagnosed with lymphoma and died before Margaret went to high school. One day, Margaret is absent. David calls her piano teacher, but she told that she cancelled her lessons 6 months ago. Assessing Margaret's account, David discovers that she's been a loner since Pamela's death. Detective Rosemary Vick, which the cop that assigned in investigation Margaret's case, claims that Margaret made a false ID and reveals traffic camera footage of her car outside the area, indicating that she may have run away. From here, parents can make a lesson to build a strong communication with their children. It is all down to communication. At the start, make sure that the correspondence is transparent, factual, and the basis of each other interests in the film. If David had connected better with his daughter after her mother died, things would have been very different. Instead of rebuking the kid for not talking, make sure you respectfully make him or her realize the importance of contact. So the next one is the rising action for this movie. It is when David, unconvinced, learns that Margaret used to talk to a young woman called Fish_N_Chips. Vic reports that the girl was innocent, having been sighted in Pittsburgh at the time of the disappearance. From Margaret's Tumblr, David discovers that she has often visited Barbosa Lake, which is near the last road she's seen. In this part, parents have to mind the use of the internet for their children, because in this movie, Margaret relied on the internet and social media to connect and express herself openly, something she could not do in real life. It's the age of social media. As David said, my daughter likes watching Kiri pretend playing videos on YouTube. However, I have set a time limit to her usage and even days when she can watch them. Mindfulness during social media is quite important. In addition, it gives children benefit about the attitudes and behaviors of their parents. Teenagers' parents cannot hover over their phones and computers holding a near tab. They should freely discuss what should be seen and what should not be seen. Communication plays an important part here once again. So the next one is the climax part. Is when David visit a block that contain pictures of the crime scene and note Peter's brother's sweater. From this problem, parents should know their children's circles like friends and companions better. Like the example in this movie, if David knew all the people his daughter used to speak to or meet, it would have been a bit easier for him to track Margaret and get to know his daughter's attitude when she is not at home. Although certain parents casually take care of their parents of their children's friendship, others who believe in helicopter parenting maintain a close touch on their families. These parents continue to ask their children about their peers and also examine the actions and essence of their friends to make sure they are suitable for their daughters or their sons. And there's a set of parents who believe there's no room for mates because the kid has siblings. Parents often try to be friends because they don't want their children to make other friends. So, next is the falling action. It is incurred when an empty casket funeral is scheduled for Margaret. David notes that the burial site's stock photograph features the same woman as the fish and chip profile picture. He's in touch with the woman and learns that she's a stock model that doesn't know Margaret and that the police never named her. Attempting to disclose this to Vic, he instead meets a dispatcher who admits that Vic was unable to take the case and was not assigned to it as she had believed. He's going to Google Vic and discovers that she knew Randy Caroff, who had admitted to raping and murdering Margaret before committing suicide through a volunteer program for ex-convicts. Then he reports this to the sheriff and Vic is arrested. Besides that, Vic offers to apologize in exchange for leniency to her son Robert, who used the pseudonym Fish and Chip to get close to Margaret when he had a crush on her. Margaret gave the money to Robert, believing he was a working class girl whose mother was in the hospital. Robert felt bad and decided to give the money back to her when he shocked Margaret by jumping into her car while she was smoking. She bolted, and in the scuffle, Robert inadvertently threw her off the cliff into a 50-foot deep ravine. Vic tried to cover up the crash, driving the car to the water, and lastly, she transformed Karoff into a fall guy and killed him.
Okay, lastly, the denouement part exists when David asks Vic where Margaret's body is, and she assures him that even if Margaret had survived the fall, she could not have lived without water for 5 days. David advised the police to turn around, pointing out that the storm that happened on the third day of the search would have provided Margaret with water. Sure enough, the search team finds Margaret wounded but still alive. 2 years later, Margaret qualified for a piano major at the college. David tells her that Pamela was going to be proud of her. So, the ethical concept as an overall for this movie is parents have to spend their time, even one night per week, even if they are busy, to talk about life and problems that occur in their children's life and listen to their kids. Because we can see from this movie, David was not a good listener to his daughter, Margaret. This is just what I inferred, even though his daughter did not express her thought to her father about the piano lessons, her experience with drugs and other things. When we answer our children while looking for smartphone alerts, TV, or in my case reading newspaper, is not called listening. By not listening to our daughters, we miss out on so many things. We may not know this, but the children understand the fact of listening and hearing. If we don't listen actively, they are going to take a step back. Either they attempt to provide their point, or they eventually avoid talking. When these children grow up, we miss out on the events of their life. Parents who listen to their kids actively bring up a good communicator.
So thank you to Lukman and Zarif about the analysis of the movie plot. So let's move on to the ethical concept of the movie.
Okay, as for the ethical concept of the movie, this movie revolves around a 16-year-old daughter goes missing and a desperate father breaks into a laptop to look for clues to hunt out of her. After David keeps dead to Margot, who find out a 16-year-old has gone missing, a neighborhood investigation is opened and a detective is assigned to the case. But 27 hours later, and without one lead, David decides to swim to one place nobody has looked, which is all sacred kept today, which is the daughter's laptop. The plot which brings a change in David's find out when Margot was catfished. When David finds a different photo of the girl who Margot had talked with a video chat site, he realized that the person who talked to Margot about having a sick parent and dealing at a diner in Pittsburgh probably lied. Catfishing is a deceptive move which should not be approached by any human being. Many still believe the ethical problem with catfishing is very clear. It's a deceptive presentation of self in relationship that is alleged to be very close and trusting. Even though many catfishers do not intend to act maliciously with their lies, some utilize this deception to gain monetary favors and gifts from the deceived catfish. The next plot which really caught my eye, which is the true story comes out of police arrest Vic, who is in charge of Margaret missing case. Finally, Detective Vic confesses to attempt to cover up Margaret's death because her son had catfished Margaret, then pushed her down a step of ravine after Margaret confronted him about lying to her online. Vic explains that her son hadn't meant to kill Margaret, which she desperately wanted to guard him from being getting to jail, so she tampered with the party. Detective Vic used the power and authority to overcome these charges and crimes which has been done by her son. There are many instances when telling a lie could also be more ethical than telling the truth. This is often predominantly true when following the utilitarian framework of ethics. Think of a hyper-ethical example where someone headed in a particular intention to protect someone who he or she truly love and care about. They would take an incentive to pull off this idea to save and protect their certain someone in order not to be framed and called guilty for their charges. Last but not least, the part which the main character is found alive after being reported dead by the media. Even though Detective Adam believed the author had killed Margaret, David held out hope, and because of the rain that came days after Margaret's disappearance, Margaret may need lived. This shows ethical relativism and the ethics of belief refers to the cluster of questions at the intersection of epistemology, ethics, philosophy of mind, and psychology of David Kim when he had the spirit, courage, belief, and determination. We say that his daughter is struggling in and around somewhere and is still living at the edge of the world.
Alright, thank you very much, John. So let's move on to the opinion about the details and the filmography technique. So, The Searching is a new unconventional style of a movie that brings a new breath to the filmography industry. A very noticeable characteristic of the movie is how the movie was shot from the point of view of a smartphone, CCTV cameras, and the computer screen. So, after the booming success of the movie Unfriended from the Basilisk production company, which was the same production house that produced The Searching, so Chaganti and Ohainin had an idea to take advantage of every tools that the movie history provided them, and they believed that there is a way to bend the borders of the desktop. So the movie was shot in a one big wide shot to describe the situation that evolved around the main character, and especially when they have the limit boundary of having to shoot in a desktop. Secondly, they used a multiple technique of showing static laptop screen in a real time. The movie uses zoom, pans, and skip ahead in the manner of more traditional movie. So the above picture showcases on how the graphic and the animation created to make the audience feel like as if they are the one who experienced the situation. Most of the graphic work were meant to recreate the experience of looking at a computer screen.
Okay, now we look about the mood, costume, and color set out for this film. Okay, firstly, let's talk about the mood set for this movie was mysterious, tense, and twisted. The mood mystery was to be seen when the event of Margaret Kim was found missing and her father was terrified. The costume set out for this film was a police uniform, a simple t-shirt and pants, construction shirt, and a casual attire. For example, David Kim only appears while wearing casual attire. Okay, lastly, let's talk about the color set out for the film. The first color set out for the film is the complementary color, and the second one is the speed complementary color. Complementary color can be defined as when two sheets make a complementary pair on opposite sides of the color wheel. This pair with a cool color, a warm color, and create a high contrast and vivid effect. As for speed complementary color, can be defined as a really very similar to complementary color, except the two color next to the opposite are used instead of using the direct opposite color of the base color. In this movie, the complementary color of white and blue can be seen when the victim stay in front of the webcam, and for the split complementary color of dark blue and grey can be seen when David Kim had a video call with Detective Rosemary Vick. Okay, so from the first picture, we can see the complementary color of blue and white, while the second picture shows the split complementary color of dark blue and gray.
Alright, thank you Luqman for the explanation. So let's move on to the conclusion of the movie.
Conclusion of the movie. With Searching, director Anish Chaganty and his co-writer Saif Ohanian adheres to their core concept in ways that are consistently clever but invariably a little astray. It targets and wins through emotion rather than cheap thrills. The ever-versatile John Cho displays a great range and takes us on personal, gripping journey like David King, a widower who raised his 16-year-old daughter Margaret in St. Joe's, California. David and Margaret actually live busy lives between work and education, and most of them connect by text messages and FaceTime calls. But one night, the normally conceited Margaret refused to come home after a study group session, something that David didn't know until early into the next day. We can see the time of Margaret's last phone call in the middle of the night. We can sense that David's anxiety is increasing, and it is ours too. Searching takes a series of twists and turns from here as David makes touch with the police and a full-blown operation start to locate Margaret. But over and over again, Chaganty and Ohanian discover creative ways to set up a laptop, from David working backwards to Margaret's locked social media keys to the spreadsheet he makes to interrogate her peers about where she is. The arrival of Deborah Messing as a police officer investigating Margaret's disappearance transformed the energy of the story, bringing a ray of hope, and they discover together from Margaret's hidden Tumblr post to the last spot where her car was seen. But as the film progresses towards its climax, it incorporates visuals and details that deviate from the idea that we see everything from the viewpoint of David. There is a story all-knowing that plugs certain gaps but often results in lack of tautness and emphasis until the end. However, we profoundly involved in these well-drawn characters and whether they are going to find their happy ending both online and in real life.
That is all for our presentation. Thank you and have a good day.